Ymedia Group, the fastest growing media group in North America.
We will carry on our discussion regarding the foreign policy, but I have a couple of callers as well. We'll see what they have to add while they're listening. Sukhminder ji, tusi on the road. Sukhminder sir, sir, a warm welcome. You are on the air, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. I like Mona Singh's take on the issue, and I think first time on this radio, I have seen a very balanced views of. Otherwise, I have seen one-sided mostly. Sorry to say about this one, but here she is very candid about saying that Iran is holding the upper hand right now. At present, I cannot say about the future, but right now, because America is saying that they are winning the war, but they are not able to control the Strait of Hormuz, and this is also exposing them that how one can imagine how can you take on China in future, and you are thinking about a lot of things on East China Sea and other areas. If you cannot create a small area near a small country, Iran, not a big power, regional power maybe, you can say, then it's a quite a not a good thing for America as a superpower. And also I would like to add another thing, the NATO allies have to vacate a strategic air base in Iraq due to constant firing of militia groups, and they have to vacate first time after $1 trillion war, and they have to vacate the biggest air base in Iraq. And I would like to add my opinion here also that we are talking about the things are about to be calmed down, and people are talking to different countries, but the thing is nobody is talking about Israel. Israel is not on board. You can say talks are going to happen in Pakistan, but without Israel. So the other side also without Israel. So they are going on at full speed. They are not saying anything about if they are having any intention of slowing down. And one thing we have to recognize that this war is, we are talking about all American allies, big powers in the West. I think they have to share the blame. This is all due to them, because at least for the 50 years, or you can say thousands of years, this 1,000 years, at least 2,000 years, this problem is coming, lingering on, pending, this Israel-Palestine conflict. And nobody tried to solve this in the modern world too. And we have sided with Israel, and we are never try to justify both sides. And we are taking one side only. And so here we have the big problem continuing. And we have to admit that this is a big Muslim world, and they have their attachment to that land. They have the support. They may not speak, they may not control, they have not control over their governments, but the problem is there. The people in the Middle East, they like it to be solved, and the big powers, they have failed in their duty to solve this problem. And this is the basic thing. And and America and other big powers, first they destroyed all the big institutions like United Nations, and now they are talking about solving on their hands, and this is a anarchy. This is a jungle raj nowadays. So everybody have to blame. So whether America is talking about grabbing the Greenland, I think they should go ahead and grab it, because it was Greenland who was also in the last couple of weeks ago. They were asking Iran to calm down and supporting America. And now they have to face the music if this is okay for everything. But nowadays things are, as for convenience, they speak the language as for convenience. But the thing is, America can solve the problem forever by solving this Palestine-Israel issue. They can put pressure on Israel even more than this war. They can tame Israel to come to point and solve these things forever. And all the people around the globe, they need peace over there. And one thing also I want to like about that, talking about war, boots on the ground. And I would remind you that this is not a American war. Americans are, voicing against this because they are saying this is not our war, this is Israel's war. We are not mercenaries of Israel. The voices are coming. We can hear on media, people are saying that our sons and our, boys should not die for Israel. So it's another thing that we want supremacy, but we are not going to sacrifice our lives for Israel. And the Vietnam was a different thing. And I would like to remind you, Yutwiji, in Vietnam, thousands of Americans died. And I would like to tell another thing. Thousands of Americans, when they have to, go for a draft, they have to conscript new guys into the army or into their services. Thousands of Americans fled to other countries. Thousands of fled to Canada to avoid conscription. They don't want to, fight a war just like us. Nobody want to die. We love our country, but nobody want to die. Thousands of run away, and thousands of even American servicemen deserted their, ranks. So there are consequences, and there were big, political rallies against this Vietnam War back on that time, and President, Carter and the other president of that time, they have to, calm down. They have to do a lot of hard work to, convince their own folks about the war. And the situation is not far away from here, and putting boats on the ground is very difficult for America because nobody wants to see their, birds die for the cause of Israel. And the best thing is, we are all now talking about, the best thing is to tame Mr. Netanyahu and ask them to sit down and solve this problem. And President America and other big powers, they can force Israel. Just like they have, did the sanctions on Iran, they can also force Israel to come in terms with this and solve this problem forever. Otherwise, we have seen in my lifetime also thousands of people dying every day, other day, and it's a big issue. And consequences of this war are, can be adverse. This is not only about oil, this is about food. 1/5 of fertilizer pass through that area, and if that not goes through, it's a food shortage. And there are gas shortage, other light industries. It's a big issue, Yudhviji. So I think the only way is the solution goes through Jerusalem and Palestine conflict, and they have to solve this. They have to sit down. You can tame down, you can destroy Israel, but you cannot, solve the problem. There will be thousands of mujahideens or militias roaming around Middle East, and it will be back to square one. But we started 2,000 years ago, and we are at the same point right now after 2,000 years. And I think the good sense should prevail, and they should sit together, the big guys, and solve this problem forever. Thank you very much, Yudhviji.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As always, you've highlighted some very interesting points today, and I think there's a lot of discussion that we can have on all these points. You're right. I mean, this problem should have been solved long time ago. And if I may just give some sort of context to this, because it's very important to give some context as well here, and then maybe you can stay on the line. We have other callers as well, but I'll also like Ramona ji, she can talk in detail. But just for a brief context, you're right. You know what, if you look at this area at that time, there was Britain, you had Russia, you had France, and they had colonies. And after the world wars, they kept on realizing, Britain couldn't carry on for long, France, they couldn't carry on for long. So while they were leaving different areas, including India, I mean, they just kept on drawing lines, not realizing, okay, India and Pakistan, I mean, the person who came, to draw the line between, okay, here are two countries. This is Bangladesh. I mean, that time it was called, you had West Pakistan and East Pakistan, and in between you had India. I doubt they knew the demographics, the ethnicities, or anything else, just a brief thing, okay, Muslim majority, Hindu majority, okay, Muslim majority on this side, Hindu majority on this side. Very similarly, in this part of the world as well, I mean, I don't think so they ever knew they ever knew that, yes, what was going to, they just started drawing lines. Okay, this is the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, this is Israel, right in the middle. Okay, you have Palestine, you have West Bank, there is Jordan. So they just kept on leaving these places, drawing lines. You bring all the Jewish community, create an Israel. They didn't solve the problems. And it's not just in Israel, Palestine, or Middle East, Iran, all this area, but even if you look on the other side as well. I mean, the Afghans don't believe in Durand line. They say no, but I mean, that border is also an issue. The border between India and Pakistan have fought 4 wars after they both got independence in 1947. So whether Israel was created in 48 or 47, India and Pakistan got independence, they have already fought 4 wars, and both of them are nuclear powers now. Imagine, they were on the brink of a nuclear war last year. They could go to war anytime, I don't know. And the same are the challenges over here. But your point is fine. The West could sit down, or Israel, they need to solve this. But the million-dollar question is it easy to solve now? Is it easy to solve now? Of course, that's what we expect from our leadership. But that is one question. Second, you highlighted a very good point that yes, and I was showing some visuals of Australia. I mean, you could, of course, there are challenges in China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Burma, in many parts of the world, including Canada. But I was showing visuals in Australia. You know, there are so many gas stations over there where it's saying empty, no gas, no petrol. We're talking Australia here. You know, you would have thought that yes, they would be living in an oasis of peace there, no effect of war, but no. The war is happening there, and as Ramona ji was highlighting earlier as well, we could think it's a distant war, it's not affecting us here. India, there are civilian casualties for India. Yes, civilian casualties for India, because there are a lot of expats from India who are working there in almost all these countries, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Oman, you go to Qatar, any part of that world, even Iran, Iraq. There are many people from India who are in these areas, whether for business or whether for jobs. So this does affect all of us. Ramona ji, your take on all this situation. Please go ahead.
I think that thank you for your input. It was great to hear what you had to say on this call right now. You're absolutely right. The issue. So let's step back here for a moment. We have to look at it as, why did this war start? And right now, no matter what President Trump says about negotiations and wanting to calm the situation, if you tune into Israeli media, you will hear, them talk about how they're going to continue on this war, that it's Israel's best interest. Right now, they are in war when it comes to Lebanon. It's South Lebanon. There is a talk that has come about from a Zionist vision of a greater Israel, and that greater Israel, and this is all coming from Israel. So please go back, take a look at it. This is the talking points right now. This has been going on it looks like it's going to be Israel. We're looking at all of Palestine. We're looking at the southern part of Lebanon. We're looking at parts of Syria, sliver of Egypt, and even the northern part of Saudi Arabia. I mean, please go and Google Greater Israel. This has been talked about as the Zionist vision. Okay, so there's that. You can put that in place, and let's just say, Bibi Netanyahu doesn't have any plans of having Greater Israel. Well, right now we're seeing what's happening in south of Lebanon. Now, you could have the G7 countries talk about how they want peace, they want civilians to, stop getting killed. But then you have to look at, okay, so if this is a war that President Trump says he doesn't want, he wants to, cool it, because everything has come to the point where, if you were to ask, was Iran an immediate threat? And I want to tell you, my family fled Iran, so I'm not defending the Iranian regime at all. At no point am I, but I'm just talking about facts of this specific war that's taking place. I'm not talking about the civil rights of Iranian people and, domestic issues of Iran. I'm just talking about this regional war between Israel, United States, and Iran. Okay, this is the point I'm talking about, not the other stuff right now. If you were to talk about, the media asking, asking Trump, what was the immediate threat that Iran had? And Trump said, well, enriching uranium, all that. Well, that's not proven, right? We're going back to what they used to say in Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. It was not proven. Same thing as when it comes to this. So was Iran an immediate threat to the United States? This has not been proven. Did the United States go to Congress to get permission? No. Did they do a campaign, a long time campaign to get the American people to sign up for this war? No. There were negotiations happening days before that, the attacks happened on February 28th. Okay, so which took everybody by surprise, which is why the United States allies came and said, hey, we didn't know about this, right? They didn't know about it. Okay. So if the issue is, and then Marco Rubio comes out and says, well, Israel was going to attack. They admitted it. They said Israel was going to attack and we joined them. Because if we didn't join them, Iran would have hit us and we would have had more casualties. And to protect ourselves, we decided to also join Israel because Israel had their mind made up. Okay, so now that's why a lot of media, MAGA base, a lot of pundits, the American people are saying that President Trump was co-opted into this war by Israel. This is not my talking point. This is how the American people feel because you had Marco Rubio admit that Israel was going to go ahead and therefore the United States joined, right? It wasn't the United States' plan. It was Israel's plan. And at no point can you say for this administration to prove why they did it. Am I good to continue?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So there's that. So now if you have NATO and you have G7 and all the other countries who are saying, we want this to stop. Okay, if you really want it to stop, let's look at the funding that goes into place. Because if this is really Israel's war, because Marco Rubio, he has the job, he's the foreign, he's the Secretary of State, we have to believe what he says. He said Israel was going to go ahead. So this is Israel's war that the United States joined. Okay. So if you want Israel to stop the war, because Israel keeps saying something opposite to Donald Trump in their own state media, which is they're going to protect their interests. So if that's the case, then why are we funding, not we, I can talk about Canada's numbers, why are these countries who say they want peace funding Israel when it comes to war efforts? So the United States is the largest provider of funding for military aid to Israel. They're supporting 68% of its foreign sourced weapons. We're talking about $3.8 billion annually for military aid. This is to Israel. And second to that, the other key nations are Germany, Italy, and the United Kingdom. So Germany, they provide 30% of Israel's foreign weapons. It's the second largest supplier. Italy, they are the exporter of arms, and they're the third largest seller of weapons to Israel. The United Kingdom, they actually provide arms, defense technology, as well as $53 million. And the stats I have on that is from 2022. Right. And then you have France that also provides military. Australia, Canada said as of 2024 that they're going to stop supplying the equipment. So if these countries that they just took this beautiful picture, all those foreign affairs ministers took a beautiful picture, said we want casualties to stop getting hurt and getting killed. Well, what's the only way? If the United States is saying that this is Israel's war, what's the only way? I mean, I don't think you need to be, a mathematician to know the answer, what the way is. And I don't even have to say it because it's so obvious. It's so clear. So while we all use our brain capacity, while we all debate against ourselves, while we try to understand the strategy of it, it's very simple and it's right there. And Israel's telling us what they want to do. The United States is saying that, hey, they're our allies. We support them. We're going to do what they're doing. And it's all very evident. So if you want the war to stop, maybe you stop funding the war, right? And then we can talk about all the other aspects.
Yeah, and before I go back to the callers, I think Sukhminder, I think he wanted to add something. Just to further your point, I mean, there is always a topic of discussion. Did Israel push US for this war against Iran? There's a lot of discussion on this as well. But I must tell you that, US relationship with Saudi Arabia and Iran, whatever US was doing in Saudi Arabia or Iran, was before Israel was even born, 1948. But this relationship dates back, to Saudi Arabia, late 30s. early 40s, we know that that's the time when you started a relationship with Saudi Arabia, and then how they would deal with Iran, supporting a regime or, supporting a coup in Iran. So US has always been very actively involved. And the reason for that, we all know it was purely oil. If you go back before the First World War, or if you go back couple of centuries ago, we know, up and before this oil thing happened, US was mainly focused, you start from New York, or when they started consolidating, they were mainly focusing towards the West. So then when they started realizing after the First World War, they started realizing oil was a very economic aspect, and one of the reasons many would know that whether First World War or Second World War, oil became very important, and Germany had challenges for that because they're not an oil surplus country. So US clearly realized there is a role for oil over here. And where do you get the oil? Oh, the first country from, when California thought we started to build ties, it was Saudi Arabia. That was the first Middle Eastern country that US started its relationship because of oil. They started exploring oil. They built all this infrastructure, oil well. And interestingly, I don't want to digress too much from the topic, when US was building all this infrastructure, one of the very important guys whom they relied on was Muhammad. I'm not, why I'm bringing up the story in this important discussion while we're having. Yes, it was Muhammad who helped them build this infrastructure there for US, and he became very rich. This guy, very important guy. He had around, I would say, 40 or 50 children. Out of these 40 and 50 children, he had around 22 wives, but one child specifically, out of the 22 wives and 40, 50 children, one child became known very popularly. Here is US supporting this guy Muhammad, but the full name of this guy was Mohammed bin Laden, and his child Osama bin Laden eventually, we all know, targeted US. Anyways, we won't digress into that story, but all this was happening, the relationship, the oil in 1930s, 40s, 1948, Israel came into existence. And then US started evaluating, and Israel wanted US support. So US said, okay, fine, not a bad idea, we can support you. We're already working out our things between Saudi Arabia, Iran, and so many other things. We're juggling around, but no worries, we'll support you. And there were few people who didn't want to support Israel. They said, no, we shouldn't be supporting Israel. But here, it's a long story short, US and Israel, they started that relationship, and it grew stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Where was the free trade agreement treaty between both the countries, whether it's the defense treaties, a major non-NATO ally. By the way, I'm sure all of you know Israel is not part of the NATO, but a major non-NATO ally. I've discussed this many times earlier as well on my radio and TV talk shows. F-35, which has been the topic of discussion here in Canada as well, whether we should be buying F-35s or not. But Israel definitely. Israel has a very advanced version of F-35. Saudi Arabia, they don't have that advanced version of F-35. So US wants Canada, India, all these countries to buy F-35s. India has opted for Rafale from France, but Canada is still thinking whether we go with Sweden or we go with US. Of course, we've ordered some F-35s. But Israel and US, whether the diplomatic support that you see, whether the military alliance, whether the economic partnership, there are so many partnerships that Israel and US has, for good or bad. We'll discuss some other day. But I wanted to hear, I think, so Kwenderji wanted to say something. He interrupted for a second in the middle. Before we, yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead. You can finish your call, or you can give your comments, and then I have two more questions to ask, and then we'll wrap up. But before we go to the next call, sir, please go ahead. So Kwenderji, you wanted to add something. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, I want to point out here that what Mona ji is saying about Rubio's comment regarding that this is, if we have not started this war, then Israel already want to strike, and Iran would strike us after that, and we have to start it anyways. So there is a commentator saying regularly that these days American diplomats are not used to be big diplomats like Henry Kissinger, Condoleezza Rice, and Brzezinski and others. They are very highly educated diplomats in their field, And this is not a, this is not everybody's cup of tea. And these two real estate guys, Kushner and the other guy, they cannot be relied on these talks. Or otherwise, this can be said to be fake talks. And they have, there is a allegation that they are already made their mind, Israel and America, that they are going to attack. And these are all transparent lies. They are saying, I'm not saying, they are saying that these are all lies, are very transparent. So you can read through everything. That what Ramona ji said, that they are funding them with billions of military aid and otherwise too. But here too, how can you imagine Israel taking on Iran without American support? They cannot refuel their jets over the in the skies, and anti-aircraft guns and anti-missile systems. All of their American things are there. America is supporting. That's why they are doing the thing. Otherwise, they cannot sustain all these wars around everywhere and every corner. And how can they pass through the Iraq? Because Iran is far away from Israel, and they have to cover a lot of space over Syria and Iraq and other lies. So other lies also, they cannot jump into this without indirect or direct support, without American support. So everything was in place before, and these are all, as they said, transparent lies, and they were they have planned I think together everything. But again, I am saying that Israel is nothing, as Mona said, they have all kind of aid coming from outside, and they cannot they can be squeezed, and they cannot deny that they have to weigh everything. They can force Israel to come in terms and solve this issue of the basic issues we are talking about. So this is the basic issue, and I think all the other issues will die down. All the major issues are related to this one, and there will not be any major issue left behind. There will be minor issues. I don't think Iran would like to have any atomic bomb or anything, and also Iran will be safe, and Israel will be safe if everybody is okay with this. But just this is a big problem that America only can solve. America and European allies, Russia and China too. They all guys, they have to sit together, and also they need some intelligent diplomats like big guys, and not these real estate guys. They can do real estate business, but not here. I think they are failing everywhere. These two, real estate guys, they are in Ukraine too. They have did nothing, and here too. And again, war. On the one side, they are saying, "Oh, we are just there. Progress. There is a big progress, and it will be done soon." And there is a war. So this is my take. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let before I let Ramona ji respond to this one, I'll quickly add to this one, and then I'll let her respond as well. I think you earlier you mentioned, Ramona ji also mentioned, I mean, this is not just an issue of, of course, there are civilian casualties, civilians are fleeing their homes, their businesses shut down, and the infrastructure that has been devastated, it will take years and years to build back that infrastructure. I was watching a strike on a bridge, of course, whether there are oil tankers, whether there are gas facilities, whether you're bombing a bridge, whether you're bombing a building down. I just heard a mother, in Iran, she was crying in pain. This mother was saying, my daughter is beneath the rubble. Please get her out. So imagine the kind of pain and the suffering in that area. But I also want to extend it that this pain and suffering in that area is very heartbreaking. It's very sad. But I also want to extend that the effects are going to be felt wide across the globe. And I was earlier mentioning, showing you all those countries who are, I won't say they're exactly in the war zone, but definitely they are in war right now, and the effects are definitely going to be felt if you look at all those countries. And it is not just all those countries. I mean, the farmers I've mentioned it earlier as well, and you also highlighted that point, they need fertilizers. In India, there's a lot of use of urea by the farmers in India. And of course, those farmers in Brazil, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, so many other countries would feel, because it's not just oil or anything, it's the fertilizers as well. And imagine all these countries, I would assume that 80 to 90% of the food whether it's rice or wheat or corn or anything else, vegetable oils, I would say 80 to 90% of that import. India does export a lot of stuff to these Middle Eastern countries, and so does so many other countries. So where do they get all this food from? They're importing all this food. So Strait of Hormuz, it's a major choke point, not only for the oil outflow, but fertilizers and, the food import that comes through that area as well. So I would say there are devastating effects on a common person in that Middle Eastern area and across the globe. I'm not sure how far we can afford this war, and it's very heartbreaking to see how common man is suffering. What do we expect from our leadership? What do we expect from leadership? The expectation from our leadership is, we would expect the Russia and Ukraine war to stop. A settlement should have been reached. But here we are, Russia and Ukraine war hasn't stopped, and it could even fuel further, because now we've lifted the sanctions of Russia. They've sold oil to India at premium as well. They sold oil to India at premium as well. Of course, Iran did sell oil to premium. I was just checking, I was doing my research, that Iran, when they sold oil to India, or Russia is selling oil to India, at what price? They're both selling at premium, because everybody knows it's a crisis. Reliance bought the oil from Iran. They're buying it all from Venezuela as well. The same company, Reliance, which is India's biggest company, and first time after 50 years they're building a refinery in US that was worth $300 billion. And our Prime Minister Mark Carney, this is the same company I'm talking, who went to their house. Mukesh Ambani's house, from Mark Carney went to his house, where he was greeted with so many things, where Mark Carney and his wife were there. So there are many countries or business houses who are benefiting, countries who are benefiting. By the way, in Canada just declared we are 2%. We're 2% of our GDP for NATO. There's so many other countries. Now we're saying billions of dollars will be spent for 5% of our GDP. With this war, long-term implications, the money that is going towards this manufacturing of weapons, it's not going towards food, it's not going towards healthcare, it's not going towards infrastructure, it's not going towards education or any research or anything like that. This money could have been spent elsewhere. This is the situation. So that's a question for our leadership as well, and I'd like Ramona ji to elaborate more on that, and then we will wrap up the show. Please, the effects of this war on human beings, everyone, on the common citizens, please.
Yeah, they're also saying when it comes to Africa, we're talking about mass famine. Famine is a massive thing. Aside from all the casualties we're going to have from the war, we're going to have famine that is going to affect the casualty numbers, as well as it's just devastating, and it's very scary for anybody in that region. As I went into details on how many lives that have been lost in that region so far, with the countries that are at war, but also the surrounding countries, how many are injured. All of that is devastating. Now, we could look at, our foreign affairs ministers and the leaders of our countries who say, they don't want the casualties to continue. Well, I'm really wondering, because, November 21st, 2024, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense minister at the time, Yoav Gallant. And so far, there's been no arrest. It's been continued. Of course, you had the warrant out since then. Israel put motion forward to say that, there is jurisdiction challenge, that they actually have authority over that Palestinian territory. And since then, you had ICC say, yeah, we reject that. And as a result, the International Criminal Court, it actually expects its member states to do something about this arrest warrant. So, you have so many things that are double standard in this, that are so obvious for the average citizen today, which is seeing the unfairness of, like, what is the point of having an international criminal court if they put out an arrest warrant that it cannot, that nothing comes about it. We know that since Donald Trump has, been reelected, we know that the Israeli Prime Minister has been to the United States many times, and nobody did anything. He's been at the White House, he's been in Mar-a-Lago. No one is doing anything. So I think talk is cheap. It's very cheap, because people are dying. More people will die if we're on this trajectory of what it appears where it's going. It seems like the people that could have something to do with it when it comes to funding this war, because it's very nice to come on, camera and say you're against the war, but you're funding it, right? And you're funding it with taxpayer dollars. Where does government get their money? They get it from taxpayers. That's why the American people are so livid with what's happening in that country. They're saying, hey, our infrastructure is falling. We can't afford basic healthcare. We can't afford basic education because it's a country of the haves and the have-nots. And on top of that, all the money, all the taxpayer money is going towards funding these wars. Because United States doesn't need the oil. They have their own oil. They have they have abundance of natural resources. They have abundance of everything, and they have the two oceans protecting them from the entire region. That's why you have the Middle East looking and saying, the GCC countries who are allies of the United States saying, hey, what are you doing? What's happening here between Saudi Arabia and Oman and UAE and Qatar? All of them are saying, hey, what's going on here? So this is the unfortunate situation. There is no other way of saying it other than this truth here, and it's good that people are seeing through this. I mean, I think we've come to a time where a lot of us are becoming very conscious about what's happening. We're holding our politicians accountable, because no longer can you just put out propaganda and we're in it together, or these slogans, because it doesn't work. We're seeing the casualties. You have a lot of young people who are becoming active. You have, and you know what, that's the other thing. Donald Trump got elected. A big part of mobilizing a lot of young people, not him, but a lot of the other organizations that were supporting him through MAGA. He got a lot of votes from young people. Do you think the young people who are right now thinking about not being able to buy a home, not have a job, there's the AI threat about what that means to them, and now you have this war that's happening, and I'm hearing about potentially soon he's going to have to start drafting people to the war, and those are Americans who are going to go and get killed. Those are, God forbid, Canadians, and God forbid what's happening over there in those countries where the invasion is going to occur. So it's very alarming what's going on. And I think the silence that we hear from G7 nations, the silence we're hearing about what they will do if this doesn't, if these talks don't come to a mutual agreement, which it seems like it's not so far, it's silence. It's sweet words. Nobody wants casualties, but yet we're supporting casualties, yet we're not intervening, yet we don't have any sort of line of communication to any of the power players who are in charge of this.
Okay. Last call for the show, and then final comments, and we'll wrap it up. Yeah, we just have around 10 minutes left. Purushottamji, you're on the air. Please go ahead, sir.
Yudhviji, I have two questions.
Sure, please go ahead, sir.
Sir, when Russia invaded Ukraine, everybody in the West say that we will sanction Russia. Nobody have to buy the oil from the Russia, and so all the countries, then they just sanction the Russia, because Russia was the aggressor in that case. And now we have another scenario. America and Israel are the aggressor on the Iran. Even Iran was ready to fully negotiate. As per the external affairs minister of the Oman, he was saying that we are just 24 hours away from the deal. And yet, Israel and America, they goes on offensive against the Iran. Has anybody has the guts to say that they will sanction the America and Israel? Second question is, yesterday you were mentioning that they have bombarded so many hospitals, hundreds of schools and hospitals, right? Even they in the Manab district, they have, on the very first day, they have bombed a girls' school in the Manab. That was a war crime. And yesterday you were mentioning that hospital and school, that was also the war crime, according to the Geneva, all the Geneva Charter rights. Has anybody has the guts to say that you are Israel and America are doing the war crime? And second question is, if all these countries, as Armona has mentioned, that they are supplying all the ammunition to the Iran on the name of the military aid, they are giving all types of the weapons, including America. So if they stop this, Israel has the ability to fight for so long?
Jake, I think to answer your question specifically, when you drew a parallel between you just mentioned that when Russia attacked Ukraine, everyone was criticizing Russia. Not everyone was criticizing Russia at that time. The truth of the matter is that yes, of course, the Western world did criticize and question Russia, and they put a lot of sanctions as well. I recently heard Canada has put more sanctions on Russia as well. But I don't think so. There were so many other countries, including India, China, they were not criticizing Russia. Brazil, South Africa, they were not criticizing Russia at all. As a matter of fact, they were all buying oil from Russia. They were, if you go back in 2022, India was the top source of India's oil were Saudi Arabia, Iraq, was not Russia, not even the top 5. So India started buying a lot of oil. So India was not criticizing. So when we think, because yes, we are bombarded by a lot of Western media over here, so we think everyone was criticizing Russia. And whenever I would go and meet many people in downtown or a lunch or dinner, they would ask me why India is not criticizing Russia. And not because we sitting over here in the West, we think everyone is criticizing Russia. So as a journalist, when I read so many different media outlets, so I clearly know not everyone was criticizing Russia. That's first point. The second point is that now, when you say this, that now they're all criticizing Iran, I don't think so. I don't think so everyone is criticizing Iran. I just told you that India has bought oil from Iran. I have even named the company, Reliance. And Iran sold oil to India at a premium. And I'll tell you the reason why. And that's my last point for today as well. Before we wrap it up, I'll let Ramona ji also share her thoughts on this one. India, if you ask me which country could lose the most if this war carry on, and if you would ask me which country, I will say not more than Iran for sure, but definitely India. India stands to lose a lot. Why I'm saying, and that is precisely the reason they won't criticize Iran. India will not criticize Iran. No, they will never. And they will not even criticize US as well. Yes, Canada was quickly, I clearly remember one of our colleagues, Shubi, was there at Prime Minister Carney's plane, and he was covering the entire story. The moment Carney landed in Mumbai, he said this, they criticized Iranian regime, and they said, this attack is good. Then they backpedaled a little bit. We support the attack, but civilians, okay, let's not digress. The point that I was putting across is India will not, and China will not criticize Russia. Why would Russia criticize Iran? So there are many countries who would not criticize Iran. I'm telling you that. In the interest of time, and I want Ramona ji also to answer, I won't talk about China and Russia today. Maybe tomorrow or day after we'll carry on this discussion. Why India has lot to lose. You know how many people from India live in that area? 9 million people. So there's a lot of remittances. Those remittances are in billions of dollars. So India's foreign reserve has climbed. Remember the crisis that happened in 1992? Now India's foreign reserves have clearly climbed up. So India would not want to lose all those remittances. And then imagine if this war, carries on for another 2, 3, 4 months. How many people, 9 million, how many people can India evacuate from there? If, in case, it gets to that situation. Ramona ji was talking about the Iran-Iraq war, but at that time also India was evacuating few people. Remember the Kuwait war, when Iraq attacked Kuwait, India had to evacuate a lot of people from Kuwait. And that India, during the Kuwait and Iraq war is very different than today. This is media. People will be, shouting at the top of their voices for help in case this crisis goes into a full-blown crisis. And India imports a lot of oil from there. And India is importing a lot of oil. Still, as we speak, buying on premium, India has invested heavily. India has invested heavily at the Chabahar port. Of course, Iran has more ties with China, and China has invested more with Iran. But India always tried to compete that who would spend more dollars. If India says I'm going to spend $5 billion in Iran, then China would say I would spend $20 billion in Iran. So, and China has more money than India. So, of course, Iran was inclined towards China. But India has very strong ties with Iran. And let me tell you this, one of the reasons was that, and Iran will think twice now. Iran will think twice now about the relationship with China, because India is not selling any weapons to Iran. India is just buying the oil, sometimes at a price lower, sometimes at a premium price. But China also supplied all this weaponry. So where is China's, HQ-9? Same HQ-9, maybe the different version, same missile defense system was used between Pakistan and India conflict as well. So where is that HQ-9B or maybe whatever, different version, but mainly HQ-9 missile defense system, which we all know is a copy of S-300, the missile defense system by Russia. India used S-400 during the India-Pakistan conflict. Pakistan tried its best, not even a single casualty. Not even a single casualty was reported in India. It had that S-400, and now India and Russia are discussing S-500. So Iran had this one HQ-9. So where is that missile system? The B-52 bombers and all this. China was claiming, oh, at this much distance, this will happen. Nothing happened. At their wish and will, they are coming inside Iran, attacking wherever all these bombers, and HQ-9 has failed. So Iran will think twice. So China will not criticize, Russia will not criticize Iran. And let me give you an inside story, and maybe, I'll listen to what Ramona ji has to say and won't take any further calls. Let me share you an inside story. Of course, there are certain headlines as well. We all know if somebody spoke at length with Trump, it was Modi. They spoke at length during this war. So the confirmation, we gave this news, the confirmation was given by none other than the US Ambassador to India, Sergey Gore. He confirmed it, that yes, Modi and Trump spoke at length. Same day what happened? Same day. India's External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, he goes to the Iranian embassy in New Delhi, India, S. Jaishankar. He talks to the Iranian ambassador in India. Then what happens? Last two times, India's External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, and Iran's Foreign Minister, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Syed Abbas Araghchi. So Syed Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian Foreign Minister, and India's External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, last 2 weeks, they've spoken 4 times, at length. So I'm not trying to connect dots here and make 2 + 2 4, but I'm seeing, because when you follow the news, the same day they confirm he goes to Iran and they say, so, and now India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, when he was asked, what is this going on? And in a statement, official statement, he said this, India does not broker anything for a fee. So he was taking a dig at Pakistan, where we are discussing there could be talks in Islamabad. So he was taking a dig at Pakistan that we're not here to broker something for a fee. But I think, can India stop this war? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But India is trying to mediate. India is trying to mediate that, yes, because India has a lot to lose. Because whether it's the oil, whether it's the fertilizer, whether it is the billions of dollars India gets from those 9 million people in terms of remittances. So India has a lot to lose. And India has good relationships with the US, India has good relationship with Iran, and India, they have historical ties as well. So India would definitely, an Indian Prime Minister, he spoke to Iranian Prime Minister. So not just S. Jaishankar, not just the embassy level discussions, but also at the prime ministerial level. And yes, in this whole game of chess, India has good relationships with Saudi Arabia. You name a country today, highest civilian offer, highest civilian honor bestowed upon Modi, or you can say India, because they value India's power. And very interestingly, in this game of chess, right before this war even started, Indian Prime Minister Modi, he went to Israel, and Israel confirmed that we would not have started this war before Modi would leave. So this is Israel's ambassador confirming. Another important point, UAE's foreign minister saying if Modi wants, I'm not saying he can do that, but this is UAE, Dubai's, Dubai has been, facing a lot of challenges there. Every day trying to deflect. So UAE's foreign minister also saying, their ambassador is also saying, and so many other leaders also saying, if Modi wants, he can stop the war in just 2 phone calls tomorrow. I'm not giving him this credit that he can stop this war. But what I'm trying to tell you is, I have heard these things that everyone is criticizing Iran. No. Again, the same thing as it was in the case of Russia, because the Western media says Russia this, we're sanctioning Russia, Russia this. We think everyone is criticizing Iran. No, that's not. And I'm saying, yes, there is a lot of questions being raised as the Iranian regime. I've raised many questions on the Iranian regime, and I think Ramona ji has also raised a lot of questions on the Iranian regime. But if you ask me that everyone is criticizing, Russia, no, not everyone was criticizing, and everyone is criticizing Iran, no, everyone is not criticizing, and these countries have a lot at stake. I could talk about China and Russia, what are the relationship with Iran, but maybe, and let me tell you that Russia and China they are supplying the military logistics support as well. India is not directly supplying anything. They would deny, China today denied, no, we're not doing this. But yes, we all know China, they have supplied a lot of military support, military hardware. Russia has support. They would be supplying the military intelligence as well. Because some targets, if Iran was able to attack with precision, yes, he was getting all those logistics support. Yeah, in the interest of time, we won't take any more calls, but final comments, the floor is all yours, Ramona ji, and then we'll wrap it up. Please go ahead.
You said something that I was wondering when this war started, is that, yes, Prime Minister Modi was in Israel, and the day after he left, the war started. So when you have G7 countries saying they had no idea that this war was going to happen, how much did Prime Minister Modi know? I'm just curious, like, did he have a clue that this was going to happen the day after he left? Was it, I just thought it was very interesting, the timing and how much India actually knows about it. And then you have Canada, you have UK, you have Germany, everyone's saying, we didn't know about this. So that's a footnote there. Let's talk about, I'm going to wrap this up, but if we are talking about, the Karg Island being taken over by having troops, having boots on the ground by the United States military, well, this is very strategic because, I'd love in a later time we can talk about where it's situated. It does have 90% of Iran's oil, but then it's going to pull in all of the other countries that are around it to be able to defend the troops that would be boots on the ground, because Iranian military is big. There will be lots of attacks. So perhaps this is part of why you have UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia are all getting their weapons and their arms from the United States to be able to help the United States when it has boots on the ground against Iran, because Iran will retaliate to be able to, if that happens. So this will definitely escalate. You're going to go from a 3-country war, and you're going to probably have minimum at least 3 to 5 other countries joining in, just from that southern region of the course of the Strait of Hormuz. So, by no means, are we going to say that? I mean, this is moving and it's fluid. Like, after we finish this, something could come up this evening, throughout the weekend. So, of course, I'm here to be able to talk about all the things that are happening minute by minute, give any sort of input I can as somebody who was born and lived in Iran till I was 9 years old, and I could tell you lots of different things about the regime and the domestic stuff of it. And, that's a whole other conversation that we started having a few days ago. But looking at this war on a global grand scale, then, I'm here for it. And thank you for including me in these discussions, very important discussions. And of course, prayers has to go out to everybody who is affected and also everybody who is worried. And, this isn't what you want to have. We started 2026 and it's just been one thing after another. And, even though we're coming to the first quarter of the year ending, it's just, we want to get to a place where we can have better conversations, more peace of thought, and just have a lot of more unity and love go all around.
Okay. Yeah, I think they have sent one last call through. Okay, we'll take one last call through. Iqbal sir, you're on the air. Please go ahead, sir. Iqbal sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, I have been listening to your discussion. It's a very fruitful discussion. Although it's, most of the things are more now evident. I would like to add like a little bit about the diplomacy of India. Honestly, uh, if you take my kind of opinion, I could be wrong. I have been following all the big media since this war started. Western media, RT, Al Jazeera, CNN, Fox News, all the big news outlets. You have quoted that the UAE foreign minister has pointed out that if any person can stop this war, that could be the Narendra Modi. Uh, uh, Honestly, I missed that kind of this news from somewhere. But anyhow, um, as far as I am concerned, honestly, Lisa, the kind of diplomacy I was expecting from India in this situation has not come up. India is one of the biggest economy in the world. The biggest country in that area, and emerging economy, of course. I think that just before the war, the Modi Sahib was in Israel, and if you, of course, you remember that the speech he made over there. In that speech, he mentioned that India is sitting, or India is with Israel with full conviction. And that was only like 1 or 2 days before the war, or maybe like 2 days before the war. But unfortunately, I think, according to my lens, I could be wrong. India has not played that part in this situation as they should have, being the largest country in the world, being the emerging economy, having the relations both with Israel and India and Iran, although they don't have a good relation with the US right now. But surprisingly, Pakistan came out from nowhere. Now you hear the Fox News, you CNN, Al Jazeera, everywhere. Although Pakistan is acting like a messenger right now, but there is a name of Pakistan right now in the media. Although Pakistan has a very unpopular regime right now, Pakistani army is very unpopular in Pakistan. Army chief is one of the, I don't know whether I should use this word or not, it's a very strong word, but one of the most hated army chief in the history of Pakistan. Even then, I mean, if you see their diplomacy, if you see their role, especially in this war, honestly, I am also surprised. I was not expecting that Pakistan could be anywhere in this situation. But they have managed to put the things in their hands. There is a role of Steve Witkoff, his son, Jared Kushner. They have a special relation with our army chief, although we have surrendered a lot of things to US. I think that's a whole different topic right now. But I just want to take your opinion, plus your guest opinion, if she is right here, that don't you think that the India should have played a much bigger role in this situation as they are playing right now? There could be ifs and buts, but yes, I think the media again has missed this opportunity. I don't know whether due to their side towards Israel, I don't know whether they want to be more towards the Israel side. They don't have a good relation with the US right now. Or there could be any other reason. But as far as Indian diplomacy is concerned, the foreign policy is concerned, it comes to my viewpoint. I could be wrong again, but this is my assessment. I have been following media since this war started. I have not heard the Indian name as it should be in the media to stop this war. I have only this question about this thing. I have, there are so many other things to talk about right now. But as far as the Indian diplomacy is concerned, please, you can give me something.
First things first, from the last 25 years as a professional journalist, one thing I can certainly take pride on, that if I've said something, and with due respect, many people would call me, that, even if any mainstream media has announced the news, we'll wait for Yudhvir to confirm it. Of course, I was reading many newspapers earlier as well, but as a professional journalist, it's been only 25 years now. In 90s also, I've read the newspaper. Since you just mentioned that you follow almost all media outlets, including you've named BBC, Fox, Al Jazeera, and many medias, of course, you would be reading, because we're all from South Asia, so you'll be listening to those media outlets as well. And I just mentioned that, yes, Modi, somebody said that, yes, Modi is that. he was an ex-ambassador from UAE. If I'm remembering his name, I'll name him as well. Hassan Hussein Nawaz. His name is Hassan Hussein Nawaz. He was an ex-ambassador. I don't know which time, but you can definitely search this on Google. He was giving an interview. I'll name that again. Ex-ambassador from UAE. And I'll also tell you the media outlet that I listened on that. And maybe if you allow me, we can search that and show you the video of that as well. But he was on phone call, and the interview that he was giving was to NDTV. So he was giving the interview to NDTV. I'm not sure whether you follow that channel or not, but I'm there, NDTV. So I'm also naming the master Hassan Hussein Nawaz. So you can, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Please, please.
I never interrupt, so sorry for that.
No, please,
Honest
please.
to God, sorry, please don't mind it. I'm not saying that information is not correct. I said maybe I missed that information. As far as your information is concerned, you know that I have no doubt on your knowledge, your journalistic approach and all that. I have high regard for your information. That was my opinion, that maybe I missed that part. Please go ahead.
No, I'm not saying that you've questioned my information. I'm just because you're right. I remember that you clearly said that maybe I missed it. So that's why I'm just saying this, that because where did I get this information from? So I'm just highlighting that yes, ex-ambassador from UAE, Hassan Hussein Nawaz, he in an interview with NDTV, he said so many other things as well, which I'll not go into detail. Gulf, everyone respects Modi, Gulf nations and this, and he said in just one phone call, if he gives to, I think he mentioned both these countries, Israel and Iran. So yeah, you can check all that into. That interview is there on Google. Search this name, Modi or India or Hassan Hussein Nawaz, ex-ambassador, you will get this. So I don't want to go too much, but just I wanted to clear this, yes, because yeah, in case you missed it, there would be others as well who missed it. But if you ask me, now your question is specifically, very good question by the way. Your question is, Iqbal Saab, especially pertaining to the Indian diplomacy. You're not very pleased how India is. Let me say it very candidly, I don't think so India has that sort of leverage. With due respect, I'm saying, India is a major power, but India does not have that sort of leverage. With due respect, I'm saying. US has that leverage. As I said earlier, I did mention this earlier as well, I doubt China or Russia even have that sort of leverage that they can stop this war, let alone India. If there is one person who has that sort of power, it is US right now, and that also President Trump. You could ask Pete Hegseth, he was asked when is this war going to stop. You can ask Scott Bessent, you could ask anyone. I don't think so anybody in the cabinet ranks would also say. You can ask the Secretary of War, you can ask the Secretary of Treasury, whoever you want to ask. I doubt anybody at the cabinet rank would, even Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, I mean, who's the front face of the foreign policy, and Ramona ji can correct me if I'm wrong, I doubt anybody at the cabinet level will also make comments that when is this war going to end. It's only the buck would stop at President S. So India, I think whatever leverage they have, India is a major power, I'll say that. It's the fourth largest economy, so many other things going their way. It's the fastest growing economy. India has good relationship, as I mentioned earlier, but it certainly, with due respect, I'm saying, I said this, India can maybe mediate, but does India have that sort of leverage that it can stop the war? As the ex-ambassador was saying, Modi picks up a phone call and he talks with Israel and Iran, okay, the war is stopped. Having good relationships is one thing, and Ramona ji asked me whether Modi knew about this or not. I'm not sure because I haven't read this, but if you would ask me, again, I could be, this is, I have to, the challenge with the electronic media is, it doesn't make a clear distinction between reporting and your opinion. This is my opinion here. So I'm making a clear distinction over it. This is my opinion, and if you ask me, this would be speculation on my part. Did Modi knew? Because I tried to read it all through. I haven't got nothing from the India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, nothing from the Foreign Minister, nothing from their spokesperson, and Modi, of course, he won't highlight if this was the case. So, and I'm sure Israel, I don't follow the entire Israeli media, but I'm sure they would not highlight, or maybe I didn't see that. So here I am. I don't have the facts whether Modi knew this when he went to Israel, that yes, Israel would be attacking. Yeah, Israel did confirm that when Modi would leave, that yes, then we'll do that. So I would be thinking this could have been brought up. I would assume the kind of repo that Benjamin Netanyahu and India's Prime Minister has, and of course, India has good relationship with Iran as well. India has good relations with US as well. India has a lot of things at stake in that area. So I think so that this could have been brought up, that yes, maybe very shortly, or maybe they could have given the precise date. I'm not sure, but this point could have been brought. Now specifically to answer India's diplomacy, I've already highlighted one point. They do not have that sort of leverage, but I think within, as I've said, they have a lot at stake. So India is in discussions with everyone in the Middle East. I think so. Most of the leaders, whether it's UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iran, India's Prime Minister is in direct contact with the state heads. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, I told you, just in 2 weeks, 4 times with the Iranian Foreign Minister. And when I say it 4 times, it is 4 times. It's not 3 times, it's not 5 times, because I verify my sources from multiple areas. So yes, India is trying with its diplomatic efforts to maybe offer some sort of mediation. Modi and Trump also spoke. Sergey Gore, he's regularly in touch. Sergey Gore, he confirmed this. He's the US ambassador to India. So I'm assuming India is trying its best, but it doesn't have that leverage. If India can do something, maybe it comes out later that yes, India has done something. It's good. It'll be I won't say pleasant surprise. It'll be good for everyone. But for now, India doesn't have the ultimate power. That yes, the deciding part. India can play their role. Rumana ji, your final thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up, please.
I think to the conversation we're having right now, I think you need to go back to the basics, which is, what is the motive of why this war started, right? Because if you're going to mediate anything, you have to understand what the motive, the objectives of the countries who are at war, right? And address those, because how else can you get something to stop unless, the reason it started, and if their goals have been achieved, that's really important. So it's important to know when it comes to the United States, well, we had Marco Rubio and President Trump talk about the fact that Israel was going to attack, so we attacked, right? And we've had a lot of detractors saying that Iran was not an immediate threat. It did not have nuclear weapons. So there's that. So maybe when it comes to the United States, because of perhaps some misinformation that came in the way, maybe not knowing that the Strait of Hormuz would have been closed, maybe some of those reasons would, create a situation where you can get to a point where the United States could, come to an agreement of some sort. Because now it seems like from, first week it was regime change. Now it's open up the Strait of Hormuz, which was already open before the war, right? So now it seems to be their main thing. Okay. And I guess now you need to go to Israel and say, well, what was the cause? What was the objective of you decided, United States said you decide that you're going to attack Iran and take out the Ayatollah. Okay, regime change. We know that for the longest time, Israel has said that Iran is the biggest threat to Israel. So what other reasons are there? So I think we always need to go back to the basics of what was the means, what was the result, what was the objective to get into it? And then from there, you can mediate. Without knowing those things clearly and what they want to achieve, that would be very hard. And also, okay, Iran is a threat. Okay, so if you remove Iran, what is your objective? What do you want to accomplish if in a situation Iran is moved out of the way? And can you get to that? So I think without having those clear answers and those clear motives, it's very hard to know that. And it's devastating that people are being killed, injured, and now you have troops being sent, talking about boots on the ground, which I hope does not happen. So, all we have on our side, since we're not leaders of our countries and we're not foreign affairs ministers and all those things, what we have is prayer on our side, and there's more of us. So, that's all we can do right now.
Okay. Thank you so much. I guess that's all the time that we have today. I hope, Iqbalji, we have answered your question. Thank you so much for your call. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking my call, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We do not have time left for taking any further calls. We will carry on this discussion as well. But I like to remind all our viewers once again that yes, 24/7 you can watch us on Channel Y in Canada. Channel Y is on Rogers, Bell, Telus and Ignite. Channel Y is also available in US, right across US on Dish Network. If you go on Sling, just search for Channel Y, so you can watch us anywhere on Channel Y in US as well. You can listen to us live while you're driving anywhere in GTA. Radio Y FM 105.9 FM. And don't forget to pick your copy of midweek newspaper. For any further information, the number is at the bottom of your screen, 416-475-5000. I'll repeat the number once again, 416-475-5000, 416-475-5000. At this point, Ramona ji, thank you so much. We will carry on the discussion. Thank you for your time. And before I go to my next topic and wrap up the show, we'll take your leave. Thank you so much once again. All the best, Ramona ji. Thank you. Thank you. Bye for now.
Ymedia Group, the fastest growing media group in North America.